Welcome to the Leading Results Fitness Podcast, interviewing some of the best athletes in the world, discussing the training, diet and supplement principles of top coaches, educating you on all the things fitness and business. Sponsored by the UK's cheapest supplement supplier, MyGymSupps. Find all the top brands and lowest prices at www.mygymsupps.com. Also sponsored by the only female subscription site, Pro Female Fitness, where you can find some of the UK's best athletes discussing their diets and training, with an interactive forum where you can ask any question and the athletes will get back to you. They have a library of over 300 videos to watch and learn. Now let's hand over to your host, Rob Whitfield, with this week's episode.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us again today for another Team LRF podcast. We are privileged today to be joined by the current Miss Olympia, Cyd Gillon. Cydney, how are you doing?
I am great. Thank you for having me.
All right, it's my pleasure. Thank you ever much for joining us. So we'll crack straight on, Cydney. So what got you into weight training to start with?
So my parents were really obese when I was younger. So they started training they started competing when I was 6. They started training when I was about 5 to lose a lot of weight because my dad was maybe 400 pounds. My mom was like almost 300. So they came down off of that and they decided they wanted to get into shows because back then it was like Bill Phillips, Body for Life. They were starting to do all those little mainstream things. And they're like, okay, I want to lose weight. And so once they took us to our first show at 6, that was all she wrote. And then at the time, figure didn't exist. It was just fitness and women's bodybuilding. And I wanted to do fitness. I was like, Mom, I want to tumble. That looks so fun. I couldn't tumble. So I gave up on that dream quickly. And then figure eventually came out. And that's when I was like, I want to do that. And that was when I was I was 12. But then I talked about it at 13. The promoter was like, how about you wait till you're 14? And I was like, okay. So I waited till 14 and got on stage.
What classes did your parents do?
My dad was a bodybuilder. My mom's women's bodybuilding.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So then so obviously the second question was what was going to make you compete. So it's just the fact that you went to the show and you just loved it.
Yeah, I started seeing the sparkles. So that was back in the day, rhinestones weren't really that popular yet. And so eventually the stones started becoming a little bit more decked out. And I liked the sparkles. And that was as shallow as it is, that's what got me started. I was like, I like the sparkles in the heels. And that really just sold me.
Yeah, awesome. You turned pro at a very young age. So how old were you when you actually turned pro?
With my IFBB pro card?
Yeah.
So with IFBB, I turned pro I just turned 20. Yeah, because it's my junior year at Penn. And I told my coach, I was like, okay, I'm going to go back home for a week. And she was like, you're going to miss a week of track practice? I was like, yes, coach. She was like, you better win. And then so she was happy when I won, though, because she was like, if you miss this much of track practice, because she wanted me to focus on track. She was kind of over the bodybuilding thing. She was like, listen, I need you to, when you win, come back. And can I just have you solely for track? And I was like, you got it. And so she was good. And then I didn't compete until the summer next year.
Sure. That's brilliant. So how did you actually balance the fact that you were competing at a national level, you were a track athlete, you were studying, everything else was going on? How did you balance that all?
Well, it became kind of easy for me at the time that I did get my pro card because I'd been doing it since, I think it helped that I started competing so early. So I kind of knew how that went. By the time I got to high school, I was in the International Baccalaureate program. So that was already a lot of work. It was more work than I had when I was in college. So by the time I got to my junior and senior year, I was used to a huge course load. So my mom and she was my first workout partner. We went to the gym the first time when I was 10. But then we started training seriously when I was 13. They say, wait till you're 13. So your joints and all that other stuff, whatever. So I started training at 13. And then, so we would get up at like 5 a.m. before she had to go to work and I had to go to school. We'd go to school. So I'm always a person that's like, be where you are at that moment. So if I'm in class, I'm in class. If I'm at track practice, I'm at track practice. And I break it down like that. So I think the ability to compartmentalize makes it a lot easier. If you're one of those people who can sit there and your brain starts going a whole bunch of different ways, it's going to be a little bit harder. So for me, I would train in the morning time. Go to class, go to dance practice, go to track practice, go to the gym, do homework, and then repeat. And that was literally every single day. And once you got used to it, it became easier. So by the time I got to my undergrad career, I'd already been doing it for 4 years. And then by the time I got to my grad degree, I'd already been doing it for 8 to 10 years at that point. So it was just kind of started from high school.
Sure. Are you still a massive creature of habit?
I am. I do not deviate from a plan unless I'm forced to, and then I make another plan. So in a sense, I never deviate from a plan.
Yeah, brilliant. So when you turned pro at a very young age, you started competing in the pro ranks at 2021. Your first few pro shows, that you didn't make the top 5. I know there was a 6th place, wasn't there? But there was a lot of like 15th, 11th, and stuff like that. Like, what did that take for you then to say, listen, like, what goes through your mind actually to start with when you get those placings?
So I've actually never placed outside of 10th. The lowest I placed was my second pro show, and I got 10th place there. And then, what did I get? Ninth. One of those, either 9th or 10th. But my pro debut, I came out, I got 6th place at Toronto Pro. So I was like, okay. My friend who was doing my nutrition at the time, he was like, okay, that's a good start. First show, all right, good. And then the second one was Tampa, and I think I got like a 9th or 10th. But then after that, I said, okay. I'm never one to let placings like deter me from doing anything, because I don't really tie my worth to a placing. So as long as I know I gave it all in my prep, I busted my butt doing all of my workouts, that's really all I can kind of focus on. So I think that first year, and I was like, also too, I'm also a realist. I'm like, it's my first year as a pro. I'm not really about to be expecting to come out here guns blazing. Like, I mean, I'm decent, but I'm like, I definitely have a lot of work I could do to get where I need to go. So I kind of kept that in mind. And I also, at the same time, I had track too. So I think once you have another sport to fall back on, it's really not as big of a deal. Now, once track left my life, that was my ultimate favorite sport. So that's when you kind of start putting more pressure on yourself, because you don't have that sport to fall back on anymore. So I think that second year is when I qualified for the Olympia, because I got that's the first time I had top 5, and that was my 3rd pro show at Toronto, and then I won my 4th pro show. So it was still quick in the sense of that, but even still, I just knew I had work to do, and I kind of focused on the work that I had to do versus the placings. So even if I won, I'm like, okay, so what can I do next time to be better? So I think if you're always looking to be better, you don't have to really tie yourself to that placing. It doesn't really just hold as much weight.
Sure. So here's an interesting question. And did it make it a little bit more confusing when you went from an objective sport of like track, like the fastest person wins, to a subjective sport of where it's based on opinions?
I would say yes. They're definitely 2 different sports. Even from just that type of viewpoint, even to just the foods you can eat. Track and bodybuilding do not go together in any way, shape, or form. Like, yes, the bodies work on the stage, but in terms of getting into the goal, they don't work. So I think that was it. I mean, it was a good thing to have, to just see the differences. And just kind of just go with the flow. It helps you go with the flow a lot more and just really focus on yourself. And that's what I learned from track in the beginning anyway, because I always stayed in my lane. So you'll hear me say that a lot. Stay in my lane. I can't focus on anybody else, because that's nothing to do with me. So if in the track I was a hurdler, if I start looking at everybody else's lane, I'm going to bust my ass. So that's the same in regular life. I just make sure I just stay right here and keep it kind of just cool that way.
Perfect. That's an experienced head on young shoulders. That is.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So fast forward a little bit now, we get into 2015, and you go from somebody who had placed 8th, and you accelerate really fast to somebody who now is in the top 3. Was there anything you've done different during that period?
Yes, I got a coach. So my first 2 Olympias, I was out here winging it. I was like, oh, I might eat carbs here. Oh, I might do this over here. I didn't use a scale until my first IFBB Pro show. I had never used a scale in all the years I've been competing. And I was like, oh my God, I'm supposed to weigh food? I was like, what portion? I didn't do portion sizes. I ate until I wasn't hungry, and I let it go after that. So it was a lot of changes in portion control. Literally my first 2 Olympias, like I said, I was winging it. So half the time I got on there without any carbs. I was literally depleted for like 2 months, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready. Let's get on stage. So it was a little bit different, especially my second Olympia. I had just finished filming Survivor, so I lost 26 pounds, and half of that was muscle. So I was like, I have 7 weeks to get ready to qualify for the Olympia. I have to lift as heavy. I couldn't even diet. I just had to lift as heavy as I could and just get on the stage and hope for the best. So that got me a place. So I was like, okay, there has to be something that I know there's a lot that I'm not doing. I have to figure out how to get better. Because I knew I had potential, but I was like, I'm one of those people I can always admit if I don't know something, I don't know it. I'm just going to say I don't know. So I'm like, there's plenty I don't know. I don't know anything about nutrition. I know what makes my body go, and I know how to eat. That's it. I do the work. That has never been the issue. But in terms of like the nutrition, I wasn't really doing it. So for like those first two ones, like I said, I was doing keto the whole time. So it was a lot of keto, everything. Keto. But that it worked in the sense that back then I was only dieting for 3 weeks. So keto as a quick fix, it does work in terms of that, but in terms of how long, I was one of those people, the more the merrier. So I'm like, oh, 3 weeks works, why not 8? So that is not good. So I kind of like simmered down off of that, and then I got my coach accidentally after my second Olympia. I had randomly sat down at his table, and then that was all she wrote. And I was like, well, that worked out pretty good. So then that switched into changing my training style, changing my food, changing what HIIT actually is, just changing all of those things slowly but surely. That made the world of a difference for me. And we just started building from there.
Yeah, sure. It sounds like you had structure in every part of your life apart from bodybuilding. Like, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm extremely structured. I'm a extreme planner. Ever since I was a little kid, I plan everything. I was one of those children, like, you would walk in, if one of my Barbie dolls was moved, I knew my Barbie doll was moved and I didn't want it moved. And so I told my mom, hey, don't move my stuff, please. So that's kind of what I'm used to.
Awesome. So when you go into the Olympia and you place third, that's a huge achievement.
Mm-hmm.
Do you start to believe at that point like you could be Miss Olympia?
Absolutely. That was the turning point for me, because before that year, let's see, Latoya and Candace and I had been competing together for years before then. So, but we had never all been in the same call out. So we were never able to be compared during those first years. So I think once we all made it to top 5 calling, you were able to put everybody together. I think that's when I really started to see, like, hey, I might be on to something. We can really do something. So when I got that third, that kind of solidified for me that I was on the right path and I could potentially be Miss Olympia.
Sure. Awesome. And how old were you when you got that third?
Good question. Let's see. My first Olympia win, I was 24. I had just turned 25, so I had to be 24. That it's kind of tricky because Olympia always falls on my birthday, so I always forget what age I technically am. So it had to be 23-ish, 23, 24.
That surely has to make you like one of the youngest Olympians ever.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually the youngest figure Olympia champion in history.
Yeah, but I mean, like across the board, like across bodybuilding, across 212, sure, that has to be up there with the youngest ever.
One of them, yeah, because I think Shanique is the youngest for women's physique. So I think
sure.
she beat me on that one.
yeah, sure. So you spoke about Candice Lewis and Latoya Watson. You had some really good battles with those girls, and we call them battles. I know they're not that, but when you go to the Arnolds and it's the first and second battle, and then it gets swapped round at the Olympia, and there's such fine details. Like, what do you focus on going into the show? Do you focus on, right, I need to beat them or be better than them, or you just solely you?
Solely me.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what their prep looks like, what they're doing, what their work ethic is. And so if I don't know, it doesn't really matter. So what I do know is that I'm going to give it 150% no matter what. So like, even when you come from the Olympia, you win the Olympia and get second at the Arnold, I don't let things like that shake me, because, hey, maybe it was just her day. You can't really harbor on that. I think the athletes who start to harbor on small things like that, that's when you're going on the wrong path. And it's going to lead you to those paths where people get tired, they get burned out, and they're too focused on the subjectivity of it and not realizing that you can be objective in this sport as long as you focus on yourself. Were you better than you were the last time? And you can physically look at the numbers, look at the work ethic, and base everything off of the feelings that you've had, and keep that type of objectivity throughout the process and throughout the years.
Sure. Awesome. Awesome. That's a great answer. And out of the three of you, you're probably the smallest out of the three of you. You know, do you ever like say, right, I'm actually going to put on more muscle here? Or I know obviously the goal of bodybuilding is always to get bigger, but within figure, it has to be obviously proportionate. But do you ever look at those two and think, right, these girls are like, especially for example, when the Arnold happened and it was a 1-2 flip over, do you ever think, right, I need to go out and get bigger and add more muscle?
It depends. So when I do add muscle, my coach always adds it strategically. So he'll be like, don't do this type of lift, do this type of lift. And that kind of bases everything for me. So when I gain muscle, yes, I can gain muscle like this. So most of my prep, the last 6 weeks of my prep are basically losing muscle. So it's kind of just what works for my body. And I'm kind of used to it at this point. But I put the muscle strategically. In the past, it was more so about getting bigger. I was like, all right, clearly we need to put some meat on them bones. So and it kind of was a little bit different since everybody has about 8 to 10 years on me in terms of age. So like it's gonna just look different. I'm still like a baby comparison to most people. So like at that time when I was 22, 23, 24, I'm like, I'm a child. So I gotta kind of just own what I can do. This is what I can give you. This is it. And so that's why I kind of always it kind of helped me stay in my lane, because the thing, you can't keep comparing apples to oranges to bananas. I have what I have. I can only compare myself to myself. And so I made sure to just add where I need to add and make sure what looks the best on my physique. And on my physique, it does look better for me to be smaller. So we just make sure we stay as small as absolutely possible for my body and then go from there.
Brilliant. And when you are trying to add muscle, will you gain much weight in the off season, or are you somebody who keeps quite tight?
I keep it so for me, it's a little bit different. I can gain 20 pounds and still look tight. So that's why we do a lot of my preps based off of how I look, because since I am one of the young competitors, as you age, of course, your muscles get more dense, that muscle maturity creeps in. So your scale is just going to go up regardless of whether you want it to or not, it's going to go up. So my coach focuses on my physique more so. So I could gain 20 pounds, still look how I look right now. But then I would still need to lose that weight eventually. So when it comes to building muscle, yes, the scale definitely goes up, but I make sure my body fat stays in check more than anything else.
Sure. So, for example, now you're obviously, especially with the Olympia being delayed, you're pretty much middle of off season.
Mm-hmm.
What does your weight sit now compared to your stage weight?
I'm actually only maybe like 10 pounds off, 10 to 12 from my last stage weight. Now, the question is, what will my new stage weight be? My stage weight has never been the same. It's probably ranged like 10 pounds at a given time. Like when I first started with my coach, I think that Olympia that I got third, I was like 143 on stage. Then it went down to the Olympia that I won, I was like low 130s. So it just depends. They all have different looks. My body can I'm like a chameleon. I can kind of go wherever I need to go, and I'll lose my muscle, run a little bit more. Don't lose as much, eat a little bit more. So it kind of wherever my coach wants him to be, we kind of just go for whatever look he envisions for that show. But yeah, I'm always one of those people, I can't get sloppy anymore. I think I changed that after the time I got third. That's another thing I changed when I got third place at the Olympia. I decided to be a year-round athlete, because before I would get off a show and I would eat the world. I don't know if you see my cheat meal stories. I can eat and I don't stop. So once that happened, I said, okay, this is actually tangible. Maybe you should try to like control everything that you can't control. And that's going to be your diet, because you're not dieting year round. You're gaining 20, 30 pounds post show, and most of it being fat, not any muscle recovery, just most of it being fat. Why not do that? And then automatically each show sets yourself up better each and every show. So once I did that for that first year and I got the first title, I was like, okay, let's just keep doing that. And so now 4 years later, it's just, I don't know anything else. I just stay on my plan, eat the same foods every single day, year round, and I just eat more or less. And that's it. So that's been a big change from the third place. And just in terms of when I want to gain muscle and anything like that, I just make sure the body fat stays in check, and I'm kind of staying on the same plan.
Awesome. Brilliant. We've got some listeners' questions, Candice. They're quite good. They're always.
You call me Candice.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
It happens all the time. It's okay.
One of them is actually in comparison to Candice, so that's why. So, first question here: would you see Candice as your biggest rival, or would you say the same between Latoya and Candice?
I don't have any rivals. That's an interesting question. I wouldn't say I have any rivals. I'd say equally in terms of competition, we've had the same. I've had the same experience with both of them when it comes to stage.
Sure. When you first started competing, did you ever envision becoming Miss Olympia?
In a far out dream, I kind of envisioned it. Now, I didn't see it happening as quickly as it did. I think that it did help when I first started. I knew I wanted to be Miss Olympia. That was the key thing. Actually happening, I didn't necessarily envision that part until the tangible things started happening. So the most tangible things are the placement. So it's like, okay, now I'm seeing that the work is doing A, B, C, and D, and I'm moving forward towards the direction of it. That then made it more plausible to me. And then after I'd made it to Olympia, and then I think it was one thing I noticed too, because I remember I did my research. I always do my research. So I looked back into Nicole Wilkins' history, and I was like, oh, she got ninth place at her first Olympia. That means something. And then that's kind of what I kind of honed in on. I was like, yeah, I got ninth place. I got excited about it. I was like, she did too. And then that kind of made it even more tangible. It's like, she was here at her first one. Look where I can be in the future.
Sure, 100%. How ironic that you both got ninth for that first one.
I know. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. What are the top 3 to 5 skills you have perfected in order to become the best?
Work ethic, focus. You got to be kind of stubborn. You do. You really do. You got to kind of just be unwavering in a lot of things. And I do think it's a skill, because some people allow themselves to bend and flow too much. Sometimes you got to just put your foot down and leave the foot there. Don't move the foot. Don't do anything. Just keep the foot right there. So I think that's a big thing, that people want to be a little bit too social butterfly and do all that stuff. I think another thing too is it kind of falls into the focus realm though too. Let me think. What's number 4 and 5?
What
That's a
about
good question.
routine? Because you sound like you're very routine focused.
I am very regimented. Yeah, that's a key thing. And then there's one more. Adaptable. I think that's the key thing, is as regimented as I am, I'm extremely adaptable. And I think I've made that a part of my plan in terms of being able to be adaptable. So if something moves, I just move too, and I make a new plan. And if I have to make a new one, I'm moving a new plan. So I just kind of go back and forth. But I think the key thing is to, overall, stick to your plan.
Sure. Another question. What's next, and what keeps you going?
The Olympia is next, and I think all of my goals keep me going. I'm one of those people, once I accomplish one thing, I'm like, what's next? So I think as long as I keep my mind like that, that's what keeps me motivated and keeps me pushing, because I know that at no point in time do I ever want to stand still or ever just want to be the same or be consistent in a way that nothing's getting better. Like, consistency is cool sometimes, but I like something has to be better. Anything, whether it's an extra hair flip, the tan looks a little better, or extra rhinestone, something, I'm going to make sure it's better, whatever it is.
Awesome. Does your mindset change approaching the Olympia, going in as the Olympia champion, and do you feel added pressure?
Not for my third one. For the second one, there was a huge change. So the first one, you're the underdog, so it's like, well, balls to the wall. Hey, I have nothing to lose. So going in that one, but then going into the second one, that's when you feel the pressure, and it's like a 10-ton brick just sitting on your shoulders, and you feel it lift as soon as the show's over with. That's how you knew it was just in your head type of pressure versus it being actual pressure that other people are putting on you. But that's just how I am too. I'm very I'm a perfectionist, sometimes to a fault, but I wouldn't change it for the world, because it's got me where I am. So I just make sure that I keep working and try to focus on that when that pressure does start to build. But going into my third one, it was a lot less pressure. I think because I've been there before. And the second one was enough for me. In terms of, I didn't feel like I had to prove anything to anybody. I just focused on myself. So I think once you get in your head that you don't have to prove anything to anybody else about whether you deserve this or A, B, C, and D, that changes your whole perspective. And I mastered that going into this last Olympia to where it was just calm. I was able to get a whole nap before I went on stage because I knew I'd done what I need to do. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take this nap. I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go to stage. And that kind of keeps me calm too and keeps the pressure off.
Awesome. So you did say that you did experience some pressure going into that second Olympia. So
Yes.
how did you deal with that added pressure?
Ooh. You gotta let out a couple tears here and there, and then you get them back together. It wasn't even just the Olympia because I was getting my master's degree at the same time. It was my final semester. So I think with that on my shoulders, it was more so a school thing in terms of the workload went from like half during the summertime because you take less courses because you're only allowed to take a certain amount of courses. Then you go to a full course load your final semester, and I was like, Lord, this is too much. And then you could just feel it just going down. So like I would say 7,500 of the brick was school. The other 25 was just pressure by the show. I kind of, in a sense, it kind of helped because you were worried less about the show because you were like, I cannot receive anything less than an A. So I think my perfectionist attitude with my schooling helped me kind of focus less on Olympia, but it's still pressure and still knowing that you're doing substantially more than other people and still trying to create the same effect at the end of the day. So it's like you have a workload over here that other people don't have, but that's the decision you make. So you got to rock with it and give it 150%.
Sure. This year was the first year the figure athletes went on the big Olympia stage. So I assume that means the grand stage, wasn't it?
Nope. We're always at the nighttime. So we do our prejudging at the expo, but we've always been on the stage. We just switched orders. We used to be with open, but now we have our own day with fitness and women's physique.
Oh, okay, sure. Well, this question then is irrelevant because it says how did you feel going on the big Olympia stage? So if you've already been there, so yeah. What is your extreme goal in the sport? So I assume that means what do you want to achieve once you've retired?
I never tell anybody that.
That's
so
fine.
we will see once it happens.
Yeah.
And then I'll talk about it after.
In terms of cardio, what is the highest you will go and what is the average you will do during prep?
The highest, my coach will start freaking out if I get close to an hour of cardio a day. He doesn't want it. He doesn't want to see it. In terms of usually during prep, I'd say 50 minutes. So like maybe 25 in the morning, 25 at night if needed. If it's not needed, he won't add it in.
Sure. And I'll stop with the viewers' questions now because we need to be respectful of your time. And I just finished with two questions that I always ask everybody. And one of them is obviously because we are in lockdown. If you had to pick 3 series or 3 films for people to watch during lockdown, what would you say is your favorites?
I've been binge watching everything. So I've been on a Damages. It's an old show apparently. It ended in like 2012, but it's a lawyer show. I would say that one has 5 seasons. You can binge watch it. It's taken me about 3 weeks to get through it now, and I'm not done yet. Ozarks on Netflix. That one's a really good one. And then Tiger Kings was fun. I mean, it was funny. I laughed. So
Yeah.
you can watch that one too if you just want something light.
That's always top of the UK chart at the minute. I don't know why.
It's hilarious. I giggled a lot.
Awesome. And the final question that we have for you, Cyd, is if you could only share the dinner table with 3 people in fitness, who would those 3 people be?
Well, one's my mom. And then I would say Linda Murray and Lee Haney.
Awesome. Brilliant. Old school and classics.
Yes, they're my buddies. So I already shared dinner tables with them, so I might as well keep that going.
Brilliant. Lee Haney was actually meant to come over to the UK before the virus hit. He was doing a UK tour because he seems like such a genuine person. Like he gives a lot to charity. Like he gives loads back. And he's an 8-time Mr. Olympia, retired at 31, 32, and Yeah, he just seems like an incredible person.
He is. Him and his wife are amazing. They'll be at my wedding in December. So yeah, they're really good people. Their whole family is.
Awesome. So does your wedding clash with the Olympia?
Yeah, well, yeah, it did. So I finally got it moved. So now I have it it's on New Year's Eve now, which is the date I wanted in the first place.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much for your time. So if people need to contact you, because I know you do posing coaching, so if people need to contact you for posing, for Skype, how can they get a hold of you?
So you can either follow me at Vitamin C VYT Lord AMIN_C, or you can follow my business page. It's Official Cake Factory Fitness. So if you shoot me a DM on there, or you email me at cakefactoryfitness@gmail.com, I'll get right back to you and get you on my schedule.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much for your time. We truly appreciate it. So take care.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us, and make sure you subscribe. Until next time, check out all the athletes' updates on Pro Female Fitness, and for all your supplement needs, head over to www.mygymsups.com.